Hey guys, my name is Chris and I'm a surgical service registrar working in paediatric surgery. And today I wanted to talk to you about the answer to the most common question that I get from people starting out, which is how do I study and how do I prepare for surgical exams? So I want to share with you the system that I've developed using the productivity app Notion that I think is probably the most efficient I've been able to come up with since I started out on this course. And I hope it helps you too. Okay guys, welcome to the system that I've developed in Notion. So what I'm going to do first is show you the system that I use and how I set it up, and then I'm going to give you an example of how to build something similar for yourself. So this is my database that I use to study pediatric surgery. I call it Pediatric Surgery AR Database. Very creative. AR stands for Active Recall. And then within that database is an instance of every topic in pediatric surgery that I would like to cover. Now, all of these topics, all of these instances, represent their own pages within Notion. So if I want to study appendicitis, I can open up the appendicitis page. If I want to study duodenal atresia, I can open up the duodenal atresia page. Now, these pages aren't just listed individually. They actually form a whole within a master database themselves. So just to explain that, what you can see here, where all of these items are listed, all of these topics are listed, is called the Master PSUB database. PSUB stands for Pediatric Surgery, Urology and Burns. And that database here is at the moment only showing me topics that relate to gastrointestinal surgery. But if I come down further, then I have the same database, but it's only showing me topics that relate to pediatric urology. And if I go down even further, you can see here that I have the same database again, but it's only showing me topics that relate to pediatric thoracic surgery, and I've broken that down into other areas as well. And the way that I'm doing that is that each of the pages that I'm creating for a topic within surgery, I'm also giving a tag. And in this case, as you can see where I'm indicating here, the tag is urology. If I come up further, the tag is gastrointestinal. If I come down further, the tag is thoracic. And that allows me to filter this database such that in any given instance that I'm showing it, I can only see the areas that that tag relates to. And that's an incredibly powerful feature because it means that I can focus my study on one particular area at one particular time. And when I'm developing a note, I can develop a note that relates to one particular topic and area at a time as well and keep it organized. But it's even better than that because within this database now, this master database, I can then also create a status tag. So I can say, for instance, that the note is in progress if I'm developing it, as you can see here with benign liver lesions, or I can say that it's completed, as you can see here with some of the others. And then in addition to that, I can say, well, what revision status am I at? After I've created the note, how many times have I gone back to look at it? And when am I going back to look at it? And so you can see here that I've created tags which show when a topic is created, when it's day one post-creation, when it's week one post-creation, when it's 1 month post-creation, and etc. And then finally, on a monthly repeat basis. And essentially what this allows me to do is that after I've created a note that relates to a topic, then I can give it a tag of which status of revision it's up to, and then create a reminder to myself about when I need to come back and revise it again. And the wonderful thing about Notion is that I can set that reminder to be on the day of event at 9 o'clock in the morning. And because this tool has a mobile app as well, then I can have my phone with me, and at 9 o'clock every morning, it can remind me of the topics that I need to cover that day to make sure that I stay up to date with my knowledge and with my revision plan. And so it's incredibly flexible because you can use the desktop app, the mobile app, the iPad app, all in a seamless way to remind you about when you need to cover topics and how you need to revise them. So that's the first part. The second part is to say, okay, well, fine. I can write notes and I can get Notion to tell me when I need to revise them, where I'm up to with them and what topic they're in. But then how am I actually revising those notes themselves and how efficient am I being in constructing them? And that's when the active recall system becomes so powerful within a tool like Notion. Because let's say, for example, I want to have a look at duodenal atresia and we've gotten to June 8th. I've repeated it every month. I've been having a look at this topic and I want to have a look at it again. So I open up the duodenal atresia page within this database and I'm going to make that full screen. And I can see here those tags that I've created, i.e. this is a gastrointestinal topic. It's on a monthly repeat now, so every month I'm reminded to have a look at it again and revise it. It's been completed as a note. and the next revision status date is there at the top as well. And I've created a template within Notion for the structure that I like to use for my notes, but you can create anything that you want really. And so at the moment I have a call out box here, which is essentially giving me a definition of what duodenal atresia is. I have a line separator, and then I have a subheading topic. And this is just heading 3 for those of you who have used Notion before. And I have drop down menu boxes for questions related to the management of duodenal atresia, diagnosis, etc. So depending on the topic, I might have an area for overview of it, diagnosis and management like I do here. And I will create questions that relate to the area of the topic that I want to cover. So for example, what is the key embryology of duodenal atresia? And I can try and remind myself without looking at the note first, using the active recall method, and then I can go and remind myself of that information if I don't feel like I have a full grasp of it. So in this case, it will be errors of recanalization. It's thought to be the cause, so we don't know completely. And I've got a little bit more information about the embryology of the development of the duodenum there as well. The wonderful thing about this is that if, for example, I want to put in an X-ray within Notion, I can easily put that into the drop-down menu as well. If I want to link to an embedded video, then I can do that too if I want to give an example of a surgical technique or a procedure. Or alternately, if I want to link to a web page or embed a web page, then I can do that too. And this gives you a lot of flexibility, particularly within surgical and medical study, to draw in a whole range of resources that you wouldn't usually have access to in traditional notes, that you can get access to really easily through your phone or through your iPad or through your desktop, or whatever it happens to be that you're using by using a tool like this. Now, within medical study and particularly within surgical study, being up to date with the latest information and with what's happening within the international community is really, really important. And so one of the things that we're encouraged to do, and certainly that we take very seriously, is doing journal reviews and literature reviews specifically about topics so that we're up to date with any changes in the field. And every week, let's say, I might get a list of 3 or 4 journals that I subscribe to through the university that will tell me that there's been a new issue released. And so when I have a look at that journal, what I can then do is say, are there any topics that relate to the notes that I've created or the topics that I want to cover? And if there's key articles that I think are important that might change management or might form a part of strengthening a management process that we already do, then I'm going to put that into my journal review section. So let's, for example, we're talking about outcomes in duodenal atresia patients with trisomy 21 or Down syndrome. Well, I've found a journal article that I think relates quite well to that. And I've included that article here so that I can get access to the full text. And additionally, I've given myself the title. Now, in some of these, I've also created little example abstracts as well so that I can quickly see the results of the findings if I've already done a quality assessment of the journal and of the article. But it's a really flexible way of incorporating up-to-date revision with a series of revision notes that you're using to get key knowledge in. Finally, at the bottom here, I've created a linked pages section. Now, within my notes, for example, duodenal atresia falls within the realm of neonatal gastrointestinal obstruction. So I can create a linked page here that I can then click into, and this can give me all of the topics that relate to gastrointestinal obstruction in pediatric surgery that I've covered so far, and then I can go and cover those two at the same time if I feel like I would like to. So this is a really flexible way of approaching a topic such that I can create comprehensive notes, and then those notes can live within a dynamic system. I can update them whenever I need to. I can add journal articles and revision articles to them whenever I need to, or linking key resources that I come across. And then I can remind myself about how many times I want to revise it, when I want to revise it, where I'm up to with my progress, and then what topic it relates to. Now, this system is incredibly powerful if you keep up to date with it and you use it, but it's not the only way to do it. As you can see, there's an incredible amount of flexibility and diversity in the way that Notion allows you to set up your own study techniques. But I think this database method is actually a really, really powerful way of approaching it. And it certainly means that instead of trying to organize study sessions in a ad hoc way, or even forward planning it in a way that doesn't necessarily correlate with your time availability, this is a really nice way of having flexibility to adjust that and change that as necessary. So to give you a real life example, when I'm on call, if I'm at the hospital, and let's say I'm waiting for a patient to be brought into the operating theatre just before we're about to start a case, then I can take that opportunity, that time, to sit down and have a look at the topics that I've been reminded that I need to revise for the day. So it might be pyloric stenosis, for instance, and I can bring up that topic, go through pyloric stenosis, quickly remind myself using the active recall technique of key information that I need to be aware of, maybe do a journal review as well if I've got the journal, access to the journal in front of me, and then I can go and move on to whatever task I need to do. But it's a way of fitting in efficiently and quickly study that I otherwise would not be able to do in that particular moment, because I would have to bring my textbooks with me, or a big notebook, or alternately sit down for a period of time to cover the same amount of information in the same way, but less efficiently. Now, that's how I use the system when it's fully set up, but it can seem really intimidating when you start in Notion, because when you first create an account, this is what it looks like. There's really not much there, and it can be really intimidating with all of the functionality that exists within Notion to say, well, how am I going to set something like this up? So I just wanted to give you a quick example of how you might start a database like this and a study system like this. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I'm a little bit OCD, is change this to small text and full width, because I find that easier to work with. And I'm going to create a example, a general surgery study database. All right. And I'm going to say this is prompting me, because it's a first instance of a page, to put a template in or create a page with an empty icon or create a database page. I'm just going to create a straight page, which is empty with an icon. And it's given me a little ship. So I'm going to change that to something a little bit more surgical. Let's put a little bit of a cross in there. And I'm going to add a cover, because it just looks a lot bit nicer if we do. So that's quite a nice cover, but we're just going to change it into something that's a little bit more surgical. So I'm going to go through Unsplash here and look for surgery. And let's see, we've got some surgical lights here. That looks pretty cool. Let's use that. And that should load in a second. All right, while that's loading, I'm going to go down and start putting in some information. So let's say, for example, in general surgery, we want to cover hepatobiliary surgery. So I've just typed that in into a little block, and then within that block I can then turn that into a heading. I'm going to make that heading 3 because that's my favorite size of heading. And now we've got a topic that we can work within. I'm going to reposition this so that we can see the lights, because the lights represent knowledge. Save the position. All right. So within HPB surgery, now I'm going to create my master general surgery study database. So I'm going to click /. That's going to bring up the basic blocks that I can use. I'm going to go to inline table database, and I'm going to put that in here. And you can see that just automatically generates a database now. So in this, I'm going to make this my master general surgery study database. And within that, I'm now going to give this background color just to separate it out. Within that, I'm going to create some topics that I want to study. So let's say within HPB surgery, I want to study cholecystitis. All right, and cholecystitis is going to fall within my tag of HPB. Perfect. And then I'm going to go and open up my cholecystitis page. And as you can see here now, I've got a page dedicated to cholecystitis, and I've got a tag for HPB. And within that then, I'm going to create a call-out box, which is then going to give me my definition of cholecystitis, which is gallstones causing inflammation due to obstruction of the biliary tree. Cool. Then we're going to separate that with the divider. And then we're going to have a topic which is, let's say, the etiology of cholecystitis. I'm going to change that into a heading. And then from there, we're going to create some drop-down questions. And I might say, for example, as I'm studying through the topic of cholecystitis, what are the primary causes of gallstones? And And then I might say, what are the main types of gallstones in the Australian population, just for example. And then we'll go through that, and you can see these are grayed out at the moment because they don't have anything in them, but the moment I add something into them, then they'll become black. All right. And then from there, I can keep adding headings, keep adding drop-down boxes, and keep adding resources until I've completed my notes. And then at the end, I might create a journal review section like you saw before. And I'm going to create another database within this page which relates to relevant journal articles for this particular topic. And as you can see here, I essentially have a fairly good note which has been created. Now, if I want to, I can also put a breadcrumb in so that I can see where this has come from, and that'll take me back to my master surgery database page. Okay. So then I can keep adding topics into this, and once I've created a few topics in HPB, I can create a filter. So I can go to this little database filter section here, and I can say I want to add a filter, and I can say that the only tags that I want to show in this particular instance of the Master General Surgery Study Database is the HPB tag. And so let's say, for instance, I was to add, I don't know, let's say colorectal cancer to this list. When I add it to this list, it automatically gives itself a HPB tag. But let's say, for instance, it's not a HPB topic, as colorectal cancer isn't, it's a colorectal topic. Then the moment I give it that tag, it disappears from this instance of the database because I have a filter which is saying to me that I only want it to show HPB topics. So then I can create a colorectal surgery section. Make that into a heading. Give that a color just to give it a little bit of differentiation. And then I'm going to create a linked database. And I'm going to search for my Master General Surgery Study Database. Just here. And it's going to recreate that. And you can see here now that I have colorectal cancer and cholecystitis in this database because I have no filters in it. But I'm going to create another filter in this one. And I'm going to filter it according to the tag. And the tag that I'm going to filter for this instance is colorectal surgery. And now you can see that cholecystitis is gone and colorectal cancer is showing. And I've created the same database with different tag filters in order to separate the topics and break it down that way so that I can easily see which areas I've covered in colorectal surgery, which areas I've covered in HPB surgery, and I might do something similar for breast and endocrine or whatever it happens to be in order to create a study tool like the one that I'm talking about. Now, as you can see here, I don't have yet any of my revision tags in there, and I would have to add those in. So I'd go to this little plus icon here, and I would say I want to add a property, and the property is that I want a, let's say in this case, a date. And I'm going to say this is going to be, change the title to revision date. And then immediately it's going to say, well, when do you want to do that? And I'm going to say, well, tomorrow I want to cover cholecystitis again. So I'm going to put down the 17th. And I'm going to say, I do want a reminder on the day of the event at 0900. And that's going to remind me at 0900 tomorrow to cover cholecystitis again. And I can go into the page at that point in time. And I can go down through the etiology, have a look at the journal articles, add to it if I want to, and revise that topic. And so you can be as flexible as you want with these different properties. You can add little checkboxes into them. You can allocate people to them if it's a shared database. You can create more multi-select drop-down boxes if you want to give any subtopic headings to these areas to break it down even further. But this is a really efficient way of building a body of knowledge and making it dynamic and useful to you on a day-to-day basis so that you can cover those topics that you need to in a really efficient way. And I've been doing this now for about 6 months, and I think by far it's been the most efficient and enjoyable system to use for study that I've created since I started studying medicine. So I hope that's helpful to you guys. I hope you enjoy this and that you get some use out of it. There's a lot of different ways to use Notion to study really efficiently. And so if you have any good ideas, then please share them with me. And I hope that this particular system is useful to some of you guys as you're starting out in medicine, starting out in surgery, or in other areas, and you're looking for ways to really productively approach acquisition of pretty significant amounts of knowledge in sometimes fairly short amount of time. All right, guys. Hopefully I'll see you in the next video. If you've enjoyed this, please subscribe below, click the like button. I'm going to try and do some more topics that relate to study and productivity and to the different tools that I use. Because I know that when I was starting out, and certainly now, I really appreciate that sort of stuff, and it's helped me come a long way with the way that I approach getting ready for exams and preparing for the job and acquiring knowledge and skills as efficiently as possible.